is kind of more of a fit trends topic right here, but
Sure.
what's your opinion on Ozempic and Mounjaro and all those like the type 2 diabetes drugs that people are using for weight loss right now? What's your opinion on all that?
For a while, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's really for me, because I am overweight. But as I've looked about getting weight loss surgery last year, and the more I realize that I'm not willing to change my diet at all because I like to eat. But at the same time, if Ozempic is a drug, especially for those of us who've got type 2 diabetes, that can help us curve our diet because the shot itself is supposed to keep you from wanting to eat.
Yeah,
And
appetite suppressant.
yeah, so I'm actually all for it. Um, I have not talked to a doctor yet because unfortunately the doctors up here in Ardmore are not that great. And trying to find a good doctor. Like I had a great doctor in Denton, Texas. Dr. Shane Ashford. I mean, shout out to him. He took care of me big time and made sure that I was, getting on my meds and everything else. The one I currently have here in Ardmore, I mean, she's just lazy, 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 lazy. I almost have to go to the ER just to get a prescription sometimes. That's how bad it is. So,
Well, I was reading this article this morning, and it was Jillian Michaels. Do you remember Jillian Michaels,
yeah, the fitness
trainer?
girl. Yeah.
Yeah, from The Biggest Loser. She was talking. She was on Fox News for something, and
Uh,
they were talking about Ozempic. Um, and she just wanted to warn people about the side effects, which you're going to have with any drug. I think the biggest thing with this one is for a lot of people, like you were talking about, especially if you're not kind of willing to change your diet along with it. Like there's a lot of people who kind of like just use it and then eat exactly the same way. And then they're saying the drug right now, it only has about a 2-year efficacy. So it starts to plateau around a year and a half. And then it's really not going to help you after 2 years. So you have kind of this 2-year span to kind of figure out your diet a little bit and whatnot. And if you don't, a majority of people gain all their weight back plus some.
mm. But
Uh,
here's the thing though. If you do something for, let's say, a month, right, and you make it a ritual, and then it becomes who you are. I mean, you get in those rituals of this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing, this. So, and like in the case of a weight loss diet, right? You always hear about these are the certain diets you have to go to. Keto is a big part of that as well. You can also do that as well. I know my in-laws are both doing the keto diet after they already had the weight loss surgery. And a good friend of mine from high school, he did keto without the weight loss surgery and lost 150 pounds. And
Keto's I like keto, but it's harder for me because I don't have a gallbladder,
all
and
right.
you have to eat a lot of fat, and because I have a don't have a gallbladder to help process that fat, it's not a good time.
Well,
Um,
I know my friend posted on Facebook a long time ago saying, now that I've been on keto, I have a love affair with bacon right now. Like he'll wake up, cook a bunch of bacon, and just snack on it all day. So but then again, if that helps curve his diet for other things that he'd be going after. That's one thing. My problem with a lot of diets is that they say, "Oh, you got to eat some almonds and walnuts and this and that." I'm like, "Well, I'm allergic to those," so I have to kind of curve those out. And so then, what is my protein source at that point? Because those are not normally good protein deals, but eggs and bacon, that kind of stuff is really good for you. Is when it comes to how you cook the egg, actually. And but like I said, there's a lot that I'm not very disciplined enough to want to do all that stuff. I want to eat what I want to eat, but if it helps you curb your diet a little bit and kind of makes you doesn't want to eat as much, maybe at that point you start to you know pre-plan a lot of meals for you to have for down the road, and maybe that's where if the shot can help you with that, that's one thing. I mean, because like I said, there's a lot of people like me who my biggest fear is I have the surgery, and one thing I hate more than anything is throwing up. I hate that. You know, and I mean, I can never tell you a good time I ever had where I threw up and says, I'm cool with that. I remember going out to Amarillo, trying to big ass steak out there at the Big Texan, and getting me and Caleb went out there. He ate a third of the steak, most of the sides, had 2 beers, and he was fine. I ate half the steak, all my sides, and threw up. And trust me, I was miserable for the next 5 hours. So not a lot of fun because there's a part of that when you're regurgitating like that. You
Hmm.
feel like your life. You feel like you're losing a part of your life when you do that. Like part of your life where it's going bye. And I'm like, I
Well,
hate that.
and I'm a foodie, so I remember being pregnant with the twins, and Marcus was on this like cooking shtick where he was like Googling recipes and trying stuff out in the kitchen and making all this stuff. And I was getting so mad because the twins made me so sick. Like, I'm talking sick, sick. Like,
Yeah.
me and the toilet were besties. And I didn't gain. Now, this is twins. The average weight gain for twins is close to 50 pounds. I didn't gain any weight with the twins until I was almost 5 months pregnant. I
Oh
finally gained
damn.
my first 2 pounds. Total, I only gained 30 pounds with them. And I was actually 15 pounds lighter than my pre pregnancy weight within a week of having them
Mm.
because I had lost so much weight from throwing up so much. He had to take me to the ER twice to get fluids because I was dehydrated. I couldn't. They gave me nausea meds. I couldn't get. I would throw up the nausea meds. Like, it was absolutely awful. But I remember this one specific time he made. I love fish. Like, I love all fish, and he made salmon, and he made it with this homemade like garlic butter Alfredo sauce that he had made over the stove with like heavy cream, garlic, parsley, like all this stuff. And it was the most delicious thing I'd ever eaten. I got about 5 bites into it and spent the rest of the day throwing up and was never able to eat it.
Mm.
I
Doesn't
have
cook in
never
sense.
been so mad throwing up in my life. Like, I was so upset. I was like, this is so delicious. Sucks. You guys better be cute. Like, I was like yelling at my stomach. And they did turn out cute. But
Right.
I was so mad in that moment. That was some of the best fish I've ever eaten.
I remember when my wife and I first met each other, we used to go to Kobe Steakhouse out in Addison, Texas all the time. So one of those hibachi places. And love their I mean, they've since COVID hit, they've since closed. And they were around since I was born. I mean, they were always like a sure thing to be there. And you go there and you get there. I mean, they had some of this what was it? Chicken and shrimp and lobster sauce. Oh, I'm sorry, chicken and shrimp and wine sauce. This white wine sauce, so good. Well, during Dakota's when my daughter Dakota was in the process of being born, we would go there and she would eat, and all of a sudden just get really sick and like it turned her off. And it was like trying to find something that would appeal to her. And what really worked was either Slurpees from 7-Eleven, or it was um like Starburst or just whatever, just like a sort of snack or candy, whatever that didn't make her want to get sick. And we would always, and like each pregnancy was different too. I can't remember what Cadence or Cooper's
Mm-hmm.
was, but it was like everyone was differently. And like her eating, her vomiting got better as she had more kids. I don't think she got as sick with Cooper as she did with Cadence or Dakota. And they always say that you can almost tell what kind of kid you're kind of a boy or a girl based on how often you either get sick or whatever different patterns you have with that. Don't know if that's true or not, but I know that
I
with
don't think that's true because mine was 2 boys and I was violently sick.
no. Oh, there you go. I see. 2 boys are beating out of you. But no, on it was funny because with Dakota and Cadence, we found out we were going to have ahead of time so we can plan how we're going to set up the rooms and everything else.
Mhm.
And but when we were pregnant with Cooper, we decided not to know at all until Cooper was born. And so we did everything entirely different. And then sure enough, we had a boy, and I was like, "Oh, there you go." So so it's one of those things where, everybody's pregnancy is different, especially if you have you know, more than one kid at different times. Unlike you, where you just had a litter and that was it. So I know, right? So you know, that definitely, I mean, pregnancies will change your food imbalance. Going back to Ozempic, you know, I trust me, I know every drug has a side effect. I mean, if you take metformin for diabetes,
Yeah.
you can sit here, like I can sit here straight with you right now, turn to the side, and all of a sudden I got to rush to the bathroom because something in it makes you give me diarrhea. Just this is great morning talk, by the way, everybody. Just wake up and say, hey, we're talking about vomit and diarrhea. Welcome to the daily grind, everybody. So,
That's why I said it's more of a fit trends talk on this one, but
right, but it's
I
okay. I
saw,
mean,
but it was talking about. I mean, it does have the same side effects as metformin with the nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, but it can also attribute to pancreatitis, changes in vision, issues with your kidneys and gallbladder. Well,
well,
jokes on them because I don't have a gallbladder.
I know my dad had pancreatitis. And that was the most brutal thing he's ever had to go through, except for actually dying. But he. I remember it was my senior year in high school, and he was in Santa Monica, California. I'm sitting in high school, my senior year. I'm barely passing at all right now. I'm trying to get graduated and everything else. I'm failing my economics class, everything else. And my mom comes up to the school one day and she's like, hey, I have to go to California because your dad's in the hospital. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll be home alone for how long? It's like, we're not sure yet. So I was home alone for like 2 weeks. And, as a high school student, yeah, party. But, the funny thing was, this is around the same time that WrestleMania 9, going back to my wrestling stuff, was I had tickets to go to Vegas with my dad to go see WrestleMania 9 because that was my spring break. Because, he said, if you don't go to Mexico or whatever for spring break, what do you say you and I go to Las Vegas to see WrestleMania 9? I'm like, and I've never been to a wrestling show. I'm like, sure. So I'm sitting there and, I mean, clearly I'm concerned about the health of my dad and everything else and if he's going to make it or not because I had no idea. But in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, am I still going to Las Vegas? I hate to be selfish about this, but I mean, am I still going to go see WrestleMania?
So, can you hurry up and get better? Because we got 8 days.
Well, here's what happened though. So he comes home and he comes home the day I'm supposed to fly out to Las Vegas, which is on a Friday. While they're at the airport, they they exchange my ticket that I had for another ticket on Delta Airlines to fly out there on Saturday. The event's on Sunday. So, but it was just going to be me flying out there. Now I'm 17 years old. There's no reason why we always, as working in the casino, we always say there's no reason why you should have a kid in the casino who's underage, right? Well, why would a 17-year-old kid fly out to Las Vegas, Nevada to be a part of, to be out there by himself? Well, my dad's business partner, Wally Roker, who's a cousin of Al Roker, he worked in the music industry. He was going to be out there with his wife, Merge. So I would stay with them and so I'll be able to go see the event myself. And then, I'll be with two adults at that time. And of course, they were working with Wayne Newton at the time. So I got to go to Wayne Newton's house and meet him and everything else. That was pretty cool. But at the same time, it was like, I get to the airport on that Saturday and I get on the airplane and I'm sitting next to the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, the manager of Hulk Hogan at the time. Hulk Hogan and British Beefcake are in first class. Sergeant Slaughter, a lot of guys I grew up with are right there in the airplane. So I'm like, all right, good trip so far. Nice. And I whipped Jimmy Hart's ass just talking about wrestling to him. I had brought a book on board that I had from my school called Wired, the story about John Belushi. And for those who are familiar with the book, it's a book that was panned by the family, and because it was a Bob Woodward book that was basically talking about all the drugs that Belushi took, not so much the story of John, just all the drugs that he took. And Jimmy Hart saw something reading the book. He's like, "Can I see that real quick?" And sure, here you go. And he's like, I remember him back in he'd come out to Memphis every once in a while to go see him and go see Andy Kaufman and us do our wrestling stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then that starting at 17 years old kid. I'm talking to a guy I see on TV. I mean, what would you do? You know, so it was a good moment for me. But again, I go to the event and come home. My dad is not feeling better at all, and a day later, my grandfather dies, and he lives in North Carolina.
Mm.
So we pick up, fly out to North Carolina. I still don't have at this point. I have not had a 24-hour day for a while because you fly out to Vegas, you lose 2 hours. The next day is daylight savings time, and then because it's April 4th, 1993. Then the next day I fly back home, so I gain 2 hours back, or however that works. Then the next day we fly out to North Carolina, so I lose another hour. So I'm still I'm living the life of a truck driver at this point. My hours are just fluctuating all over the place. And but then I'm at my grandfather's funeral. My grandfather was 81 years old. He was going to die. That was just he wasn't doing too well. And I'm sitting there hyped up over what I thought was the greatest experience of my life. Turns out it was WrestleMania 9. Those who are wrestling fans know that's not the greatest WrestleMania in the world. But it's my first ever show, so I'm sitting there wanting to talk about that to people who don't care about wrestling because they're too busy worried about. I'm so sorry about your grandfather. I'm like, oh, it's okay, he's fine. Guess what I did this weekend? I mean, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's all right. He had a long life.
So my dad is sitting there dying. He's having the hardest time dealing with this whole thing. So we're at my grandmother's house, and this is the reason why I do not like the woman. She goes up to my dad and hits him right in the stomach where he had all the stuff. It says, you need to stay for a while. And he damn near doubled over. And I damn near wanted to jump out of the chair and beat the hell out of her because he has gone through so much hell. And I'm trying to, trying to be there for him. I'm like, don't hit him. He had surgery. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We've been telling you he had surgery. That's like telling her, listen, I can't be in your house because you have cats. Why is that? I'm allergic to cats. When did this happen? Since birth.
Always.
But apparently that hasn't crossed over to you. So, oh my goodness, it was not a good time for us. But then to make a long story short, we got back to Dallas. My dad went back to the hospital 3 or 4 different times while I was still trying to graduate high school. Turns out I did graduate, so that's not a problem there. And thank God. To my school mother, I used to call her. Her name was Lucy Murray. She was, I was a special ed student because of my head injury, and she would always help me read questions that would make me understand them better. I kind of feel like Forrest Gump. She make me understand them a lot better than I really could read it. And so she passed away a couple of years ago, and that damn near broke my heart because I remember my mom passing away, my dad passing away, and I was all torn up over. When she died, I was heartbroken completely because this is a wonderful lady who, she took the time to really help, not just educate me, but at least help me move forward, and that's where, I remember when I went in for my economic exam, she saw me. I walked into the library because that's where Content Mastery had moved to, and she's like, come on, Trey. You and I, we're gonna sit right here. We're gonna graduate right here. And I sat there, and she read the questions off, and then she's like, "Okay, it's one of two answers, A or B." I'm like, "B." Read again. Okay, A. So I mean, it was kind of like that to help me move along, right? So, shout out to her and her family. Her family kind of unofficially adopted me because I had stayed close with the family after I graduated high school. So, but very cool. Once again, I'm all over the place with the story. I know we're talking about Ozempic, and here we are talking about pancreatitis, but you brought the pancreatitis part, so. But yeah, that is nothing funny to laugh at because like my dad lost his gallbladder too, and that was about 3 or 4 weeks of just pain that he had never gone through before. But then this also back in 1991 when he had that, 93 when he had pancreatitis, and it was like worse than that. So, yeah, side effects do kind of scare me off with the Ozempic thing. But then again, if you're trying to lose weight and be up, curb your appetite, and you got to deal with the diabetes part of that, then that kind of comes with it. I mean, you kind of
I feel like I would, as far as like what I would try, I would probably try like look up some actual, they have like gummy oh my god, I've totally forgot the name of the word. Like appetite suppressant. There you go. I couldn't think of the word. They have like gummies. They have pills. What I would probably try a couple. Like if one didn't sit well with me, maybe try a couple different brands. And then if that none of that worked, then jump to the Ozempic train. Because I'm all for, as someone who has gone through lots of up and down weight, like I have been everywhere from 120 to 230. Like I have been, like up and down and everywhere in between there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, sometimes all you need to really get the ball rolling is that first like major bit of weight loss, like that first 15 pounds, that first 20 pounds. Like when you start to see it come off, it escalates your drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it starts to come off, it can be a lot easier to, okay, I'm going to say no to this because I don't want to put that weight back on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to not eat this. I'm not going to, I'm not going to buy this. So that way it's not even in the house and I don't have the option to eat it. Like little things can start to roll downhill into better decisions. And sometimes you just need that little, that kickstart. So I'm not against it. I would say definitely. Now I know it did cause a little bit of a shortage for people with actual diabetes that needed the medication. And that's obviously not good. Maybe get some knockoff brands or something for the people who don't actually have diabetes. But as far as taking a medication to help you with your weight loss, I'm not against it. Everybody's body is different. Some people, what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. Especially like me without a gallbladder is what's going to work for me for weight loss isn't going to be the same as someone who does still have a gallbladder because now my body is operating differently than theirs. So, there's so many things to go into it. And so I'm not against it. I would say definitely do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready to drastically change and look at the way, change the way that you look at food, because once you do hit that 2-year plateau, it's going to be completely on you to keep a low, calories in, calories out, like be watching what you eat and be counting those things, because now you're at a really high risk once that medication's not in your system anymore, just to gain all of it back. If you haven't made a lot of weight loss, a lot of eating is mental stuff, like especially
Mm-hmm.
if you have any type of eating disorder, emotional eating, you eat when you're stressed, you eat when you're depressed, you eat when you're whatever.
Right.
You have to correct, you have that 2 years until you plateau to fix what's up here. This correlation here. You got that 2 years to figure it out and get it under control. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up looking worse than you did when you started. And not
Right.
to be harsh about it, but that's just kind of what it's showing. And then they're saying one of the downsides, they call it Ozempic face, where some of these people are losing the weight so quick that it results in like really saggy skin in their face, like their faces are all.
Right.
So, but that's
Well,
that's
there's
just
a
being
part of it too
vague.
to where that's true. But here's the thing, though. I mean, like if a lot of it is, you start losing weight, then the best thing to do is start working out. And like incorporate that, because while you're losing weight and the skin is starting to sag, start to tone up a little bit, then all of a sudden it won't be as bad. You still have this, you'll still have the skid marks and everything else to show that you've lost a lot of weight, but at the same time you've also toned up enough to where you won't sag as much. My other issue, I've also run into this, that like I remember I lost 50 pounds with the SOTA weight loss diet, the SOTA diet, not soda, but SOTA, weight loss diet. I hear the ads on the ticket in Dallas, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I lost 50 pounds, but it's such an expensive program to be a part of. You got to pay like $150 a week to stay on their program, and
A week?
it's a lot.
Lord.
And I didn't realize it was gonna be that much. And then I was like, well, I can work a lot of it's that whole hindsight. Like, well, I can work a lot of overtime and I can make up for it. But then you go work all that overtime and all of a sudden you know, you're working your fourth week in a row of day 6, and you're sitting there going, I don't have the energy to do this right now. Plus, you're losing weight in the process because they tell you no more sodas, no more. Which, hey, I'm I'm a soda fan, right? So I mean, my this is my son's favorite root beer, Bark root beer. So I mean that's one of my favorites too. So definitely, I just can't give that up. It's it's like cigarettes. I mean, some people can give that up, some people can't. That was a problem I had with it. But like they would have like these little boxes of food that you add water to, and it makes like chili or whatever, and you eat just that, and then you wait 8 hours, and you come back and you eat like a little pancake or whatever, right? And it was like
Mm.
stuff that you can make, but at the same time, it was like, you know, your system, you're getting your protein, so you're not cramping up like you would. You're getting your nutrients in, but you're also just getting tired and more tired because you feed your system all the stuff to keep yourself going. Although that tires you out eventually. Now you're not eating at all except for those little box foods that you're getting, and you're going. But you lose 50 pounds, and you're sitting there going, "There's a trade off."
Yeah.
But I couldn't stick with it, and I gained the weight back, no problem. And there
Well,
you
that's a
go.
problem with a lot of stuff like that. That's why I said you need to fix the actual correlation between here and here, because a lot of the times that's the issue. And um a lot of those diets are so restrictive that it's not realistic and going to actually fix your problem, because the minute that you can't afford it anymore, the minute that you're too tired, the minute that like a lot of people's problem with keto is like you go on vacation and it's like, some restaurants don't allow substitutions and stuff like that, and it's just, then you're like, okay, well, I'll just cheat this week while I'm in Cabo, and then it just spirals, right? And then you usually end up gaining more weight than what you lost. So the super restrictive diets typically don't work in the long term,
Hmm.
and you have to really do some digging and find like what works for you. Now, I'm not hating on keto at all, because I know quite a few people who it actually works way better for them, especially people who are diabetic. It lowers the blood sugar quite a bit and keeps it pretty stable.
Right.
And I've seen it help with people's eczema and things like that. But I would say just you got to play around. Those of us who struggle with weight loss, it's definitely it's a process. You got to try a few things, see what works for you. And that's why I said I'm not
Yeah.
against a thing like Ozempic to give you a head start, or try some other appetites. If your problem is that you just really like to eat and you like to eat a lot, try appetite suppressant gummies or whatever. See how your body reacts to it,
Hmm.
and then kind of go
Yeah.
from there. Because that's really all Ozempic is.
Well,
Is it's a
you know,
diabetes medication that's pumping this thing into you that it lowers your appetite.
CBD stuff has really been helpful to a lot of people too. Whether it's cigarette smoking, and this is like a substitute, or if it's to help you sleep, or if it's to help you, curb your diet, like they say. I've tried CBD, not a fan of it. I've tried, I mean, there's that willpower that I don't have, that makes me sit there and go, yeah, okay, well, I really don't want to have a hamburger, but boy, sitting over a grill and grilling a couple of burgers right now sounds really good right now. And like sometimes that outweighs what you should be doing. And once again, you're the only person who you hold accountable for is yourself. And when you sit there and go, well, I'm fine with it, no problem, then that's a problem. So, like today, I'm thinking about either making me some spaghetti and like making that to last me 2 or 3 days. But then like it's a matter of me getting up and doing it. So do I want to spend the 25 minutes or so to sit there and cook it up on the stove and do it, or do I just want to sit there and go, yeah, I'll just snack here and there all day and then just be all right. I said once again, it's so hard to know what I'm going to do because it's hard to plan meals, especially when you're me, and like when you have that work schedule where your lunch is at this time, and you have your breaks here, and then if you're gonna eat then, whatever else. But then, like, so you walk into one of the rooms, and an employee says, "Hey, I got some leftover Panda Express here. You want them on?" Sure. But then you still got your other meal you can eat too. You're going, "No, damn it." So
Yo,
then it is what it
dispatch was the hardest place to ever lose weight because those women would bring in cookies and they'd be like, okay, I'm doing a run to the burger place. Who wants what? Like, I'm doing a run to Sonic. I'm doing a run to Starbucks. Like, and they'd be bringing stuff. There'd be potlucks. You'd walk in there, that someone would have their crock pot sitting on in the middle of the room. Like, it was.
Oh, speaking of which, Tony, a mutual friend, you and I both know Tony Clare. He's bringing some chili today up at work. I ain't gonna be there today, but I'm like, oh, you mean he does like the venison chili or whatever. I mean, he does like different flavors with it, and he lovingly spends that time with that crock pot cooking that shit up and just making it so good. He brings it in there, and you're going, I don't care what I brought to eat. I'm eating this as well.
Yeah.
So but I told her, I said, you need to bring this up here on a Thursday when I'm not going to be here. So it'll help me out a little bit. Then if you have any leftover, just send it my way.
Yeah.
He never has any leftovers, so it's pretty much gone by then. But yeah, most definitely. Ozempic, once again, I'm gonna get hold of my doctor or one of my doctors or find the doctor, however I'm gonna do it, and start the process. When I do that, I guess we can chronologue how I'm feeling with it, on this show, and just kind of go from the idea. It'd be a fun little experiment to have on this show at least. So I'm losing weight and melting away on camera. It'd be fun.
That would be nice, right?
All right. It's like I'm melting. But yeah, Ozempic. Yeah, if you want to be a sponsor for the Daily Grind, by all means, if you're watching this show, send us a link. We'll definitely push y'all. But and then again, if
Speaking
you're Parker,
of, guys,
I'm sponsorship.
I'm gonna plug this right now. Wherever you're watching us, Facebook, YouTube, you're watching a short, whatever it is, make sure to just like this, comment this, share this, go subscribe. It's free. The reason we have to pre-record the episode is because Trey had to pick up a shift tomorrow, and see if we get to a point where we can monetize, then we can do this full time and you'll never have to miss us. So just hit all that stuff because it's free. It takes 2 seconds to do it. And once, I think you have to hit 1,000 subs to start monetizing. And then that's usually when you start getting ads too. Like, people start hitting you up to give ads. So I'm just going to plug that right now, guys. It's free and it helps.
I was looking at that on YouTube. I think you have to have like 1,000 subscribers. You have to have at least 3 million views, I think. You have to show that people are actually watching your stuff, and actually spending time to do that. And then I think time spent watching is also a big part of that as well.
Like how long
Offshoots TV is starting to take a lot of ground with that. Yeah, the Offshoots Network is really starting to pick up a lot of traction. We went from 75 subscribers 2 months ago to now 93, and we're starting to get. Every day we're growing in like 2 or 3 numbers of subscribers, and people are actually commenting on the actual videos on YouTube, which is actually kind of cool. And they're not being. Some are being dumbasses. They're sitting there going, "God, you guys are just idiots, man! Don't y'all know that wrestling's fake?" Well, yeah, clearly, but we're talking about the stories and everything else. Whereas now we're getting comments like saying, yeah, Tony Khan's a real piece of work here. I mean, which was the topic of the episode. So, and again, I would like to have that with this show as well. And I think we'll get there eventually. Once again, we're at seven subscribers on YouTube. The problem with getting a subscriber on YouTube is that person already has to be a YouTuber, or has to already have an account on YouTube so they can subscribe, because you can't just be random and subscribe.
Yeah.
You
got to make
you have to kind of already gone through the process.
But if you have a Gmail,
so
if you have a Gmail email, then you can already make a YouTube account because it's all connected.
Yeah. I see all these videos of like these kids who do these little Minecraft things, and all of a sudden they have 3 million subscribers and are generating tons of money doing whatever they're doing. Hell, there's this one show that my son Cooper would watch. This little kid would go into these. It would get like a different toy every episode, and he'd play with the toy and everything else. And I can't remember what the show was called, but like the mom was annoying as hell because her voice was like nails on a chalkboard when she said, "Oh, look at the toy, Ryan! You can do this with the toy." I'm like, dude. And like she's like so overjoyed, and like, and if the dad joined in, he'd be overjoyed. And I'm going, guys, it's blocks. We're getting excited about blocks. Come on. So, but she's like, "Oh, look at the blocks over here, and you're gonna do this, you can do that." I'm like, gosh, she must be annoying to go on a date with. I'm sorry, you're just like, I don't know. They say, "Oh, look, you can order this off the menu." I'm like, no. Bitch, go away.
Oh, so I actually had.
Yeah, just not my thing.